What's going on, Ravens fans? My name is Joey Peterson. Welcome into the Baltimore Ravens Rundown. On today's show, I'm going to give Eric DeCosta a little bit of the benefit of the doubt and tell you exactly why I believe the three moves he's made so far leading up to the trade deadline have been awesome, okay? They've been amazing. And I get it. You probably wanted him to make a little bit of a bigger splash. Hell, you probably wanted him to go after Quinnen Williams. He didn't. And I think he got a lot of flack for that, and some of that rightfully so. But still, the three moves that he's made from just before the bye week up into right at the trade deadline, if you take a deep dive into all of them, man, they have really helped out Baltimore so far in the year of 2025. The three moves, of course, I'm talking about is Dafe Owe to the Los Angeles Chargers. In return, the Baltimore Ravens received Alohi Gilman. Of course, I'm also talking about Jaire Alexander to Philadelphia for a sixth. And then a conditional fifth-rounder to Tennessee for edge rusher Dre'Mont Jones. We are seeing the fruit already from every single one of these. From Alohi Gilman's addition to the secondary, we're seeing the fruit as in Jaire Alexander already not doing much for the Philadelphia Eagles. And, of course, just a one-game sample size, but Draymond Jones looks like a really good addition. We're going to break down those trades in just a couple of seconds. But before we do, make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we're trying to get to 41,000 subscribers. Speaking of Draymond Jones, number 41, do it for him. 180 subs away. I just need 180 diehard Ravens fans to hit that sub button. Try to get us there as quickly as possible. If you haven't joined us yet, today's the perfect day to do so. So hit that sub button. So before the trade for Alohi Gilman went down, this is how the Baltimore Ravens fared in the first 5 weeks of this season. Defensively, points allowed, 41 to the Bills, 17 to the Browns, 30 to the Detroit Lions, and 37 to the Chiefs, 44 to the Houston Texans. After Week 5, they were on track to let up more points than anybody else in the history of the National Football League. They were dreadful, to say in a word. And then, out of nowhere, Dafe Owe gets shipped out to Los Angeles, as well as a seventh-round pick. In return, the Baltimore Ravens got their safety, Alohi Gilman, and a 2026 fifth-round pick. And I already know what the comment section is going to say. Joey, Dafe Owe has been balling so far since he's been in Los Angeles. And you're right when you say that. He's had a really, really good season since he's been moved to L.A., but so has Alohi Gilman in Baltimore. It's kind of been one of those situations where it seems like it's a win-win and you got the better draft pick out of the two. Gilman has been a great player since he's been in Baltimore. He's made plays, he's made tackles, he's forced fumbles. But in my opinion, like my take on the Alohi Gilman trade is the biggest thing he's brought to Baltimore is the fact that he's allowed Kyle Hamilton to be a little bit more versatile in his position. He's allowed Kyle Hamilton to be that Swiss Army knife that we all know Kyle Hamilton to be. And I think, in my opinion, that is where you've seen the biggest switch up and change in this defense is because Kyle Hamilton is able to go wherever the hell Zach Orr wants him to go. And when I say wherever the hell he wants him to go, I actually mean that. Just look at Kyle Hamilton's alignments through the first 4 games pre-trade and his last 4 games post-trade. He only had 20 defensive lineman snaps the first 4 games. He's had 30 since the trade. He's been in the box just about the same amount. But look at the free safety snap differences. 139 down to 6 in the 4 games he's played since the trade went down. He's been in the slot 101 times since the trade compared to 38 times before the trade. And outside cornerback, just about the same amount of time. And since the bye week, this is what you've seen from this team. Only 3 touchdowns allowed. 10 forced turnovers. 67.5 average opponent passer rating. 21 quarterback hits. And 13.5 points a game allowed. If you end up making noise in the postseason, this is why you do it. Because you traded for Alohi Gilman. You traded away a guy on Dafe Owe who wasn't doing much for you, and you weren't going to re-sign in the offseason anyway because he's done after this year contract-wise. You got rid of him. You brought in a guy who can allow Kyle Hamilton to make an impact on the football every single play from anywhere on the football field. Defensive line, linebacker, slot, corner, free safety, anywhere. You're now allowed to do that because you've added Alohi. Are you pumped up about this Ravens defense? If you are, hit that thumbs up button and like today's video. I'm pumped up about it. I hope you guys are as well. So now let's move on to Dre'Mont Jones. So when the Baltimore Ravens played the Minnesota Vikings, they ended up pressuring J.J. McCarthy 29 times. That is a season high, and in fact, is the highest the Baltimore Ravens have been able to do since Week 10 of the 2024 season against the Cincinnati Bengals. So basically, you take the last 7 games they played in that regular season, plus the 2 postseason games, and then every game so far this season, that's like 19 games between their highest pressure from last year to this one. And the team pressures, when you look into it, Travis Jones led with 6, but there's the other Jones. Dre'Mont right there with 4. The newly acquired Baltimore Raven made his debut, and Mike Green, the rookie, tied him with that same exact number. He also had a 12.1% quarterback pressure rate against Minnesota. Already in one game, you are seeing it being paid off. Now, I don't want to put the cart ahead of the horse. I don't want to say that this is the best trade that Eric DeCosta has ever made and that this is going to save this season and that Dre'Mont Jones is going to rack up 4-sack game, 5-sack game, and we're going to look back at this trade and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe he got 10 sacks in the last 8 games of the season. I'm not saying that. Don't hear me. Okay? But I will say, so far through one game, it's looking like it was a good move. I love his positional versatility. You can put him inside. You can put him outside. He pressured J.J. McCarthy from both points on the defensive line. And so the 2 big trades you made, bringing people into Baltimore, so far look to be successful. Grade his debut against Minnesota. A, B, C, D, or F. You let me know in the comment section down below. And while you're getting that grade in, I got to tell you about the sponsor of today's video. It is our great friends over at Prize Picks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with Prize Picks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Lamar Jackson's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. Follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like, hit the follow button to check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. Here's my lineup for Thursday night football: Jets, Patriots. Give the more on Breece Hall, half a rushing or receiving touchdown. The more on Drake May, 20.5 completions. And I love this one. 3.5 yards on the first rush. Really exciting stuff. Give me the more for Travion Henderson. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. The link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. And next we get to the Jaire Alexander trade. And I don't know if you guys have seen what's happened over the last 24 hours, but yesterday it was announced that he would be stepping away from football to work on himself mentally and physically. And then this morning he was replaced on the reserve/retired list by the Philadelphia Eagles. So obviously, for a guy who's not even in the National Football League right now, I would say that was a good trade. And going back to signing him, back in, I believe it was June when that happened, regardless, I think it was worth the experiment, right? I think you had in front of you a guy who was just a couple years removed from being one of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League, and you had him on a really cheap deal. It was low risk, high reward, and yeah, it didn't end up working out for you. But at the end of the day, Like, I'm glad you took that gamble. I'm glad you took that risk because it could have, flat out, plain and simple. And they didn't know up until that point because he had dealt with injuries so much the 2 years prior that he just wasn't the same guy anymore out there on the football field, even when he was healthy. But his contract was heavily incentivized, so you're not paying him that much money. You traded him after 9 games through the season, so you didn't even really have to pay him that much money anyway. And so to me, it was worth the experiment. And the fact that you got anything from Philadelphia for him is wild. The fact that you got anything from Howie Roseman, in my opinion, I look at that and I say that is another win for Eric DeCosta. You gave them Jaire in a 7th. You got a 6th in return. So basically, they just traded you a 7th-round pick for a 6th-round pick because he's not even in the NFL right now. 3 trades from Eric DeCosta. 3 really, really good outcomes so far for the Baltimore Ravens. For the rest of today's video, we're going to do something we like to do a lot, getting closer to game day, right? We are 5 days away. 4 days away? What's today, Wednesday? Yeah, 4 or 5 days away. I don't care. 4 days away from playing the Cleveland Browns on Sunday afternoon. So I'm going to go position group by position group, starting on offense, finishing on defense. I'll tell you who has the edge. We're going to start with the head coaching spot. I'm going to call this one a push, okay? I get it. John Harbaugh, he has a Super Bowl, but still, Kevin Stefanski is a 2-time Coach of the Year, and John Harbaugh has just landed in a better situation than Kevin Stefanski has. He's landed in an organization that has far more stability. But from like a schematic advantage standpoint, I think Kevin Stefanski has that over John Harbaugh. And so I'm going to give these guys a push. You might disagree. You might agree. Frankly, I don't care. Quarterback spot, Ravens. Not going to talk too much about this one. Dylan Gabriel versus Lamar Jackson any day of the week. Running back room, I'm going to give this to the Ravens as well. However, I am a big fan of Quinshon Judkins, the player, probably not the person. However, he's still a rookie. He's going to have a good career, though. I can promise you that. Like, everything we've seen from him this year leads me to believe that, but I'm going to go with Derrick Henry. The wide receiver room, I'm going to go with Baltimore here as well. If you just talk wide receiver ones, you could have the argument between Zay Flowers and Jerry Jeudy. I'd probably favor Flowers in that matchup, but if you're just looking at the wide receiver room as a whole, then I'm going to go with Baltimore. The offensive line, though, I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns. Look, I'll just tell you this right now straight up. For offensive lines for the rest of this year, I'm probably going to favor the opposing team. I just don't like this offensive line one bit. I don't like Daniel Faalele. I don't like Andrew Voorhees. I don't like the guards. So give me the Browns offensive line and give me the Browns defensive line. Okay, I think this is the best defensive line in football, one of them. I think they're only behind like the Packers and the Giants, but they're right there. They've got the best defensive player in football in Myles Garrett. They pressure the quarterback at an elite level. That is easily the best part of their team. Linebacker room, I'm going to give this a push. If Roquan Smith continues to play as he did against the Minnesota Vikings, then my favor will go a little bit back into the favor of the Baltimore Ravens. However, he's just had too much of a roller coaster type season. And I get it. The last time he played Cleveland, he had like the best game of his career. But still, I like the Cleveland Browns linebacking room. Carson Schwessinger, their rookie's having a great season. So is ours with Teddy Buchanan. But still, I'm going to give this one a push. The cornerback room, I'm going to go with the Browns right here. I love Nate Wiggins. Marlon Humphrey had an all right game against Minnesota. I just think they're a little bit deeper in that regard. And then for the safety room, you got Kyle Hamilton. Malachi Starks is starting to look like a real player. Alohi Gilman has been great since you traded for him, like we talked about earlier. So when it comes to safeties, you got Kyle Hamilton. I'm going to go with the Ravens. That's going to do it for today's show. Make sure you guys got me followed on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and make sure you subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/RavensTV for everyday coverage.